Welcome to Permaculture in Action, where I break down permaculture principles so that you can create a world of abundance. In any climate, in any location, the natural ecosystems are the teachers. This is where you'll learn, because you'll learn the layers within the system. There are no weeds in a complete ecosystem because there are no gaps. So how do you fill those gaps? And it's not just gaps in space, it's gaps in time. How does a system recover from damage to permanent stability? You're going to have to accept that some very fast-growing plants that grow organic matter and add it to the soil need to be replicated and need to be speeded up so you can get that organic matter in the ground and get to stability and fertility as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And it means partnering with some unusual characters, but that's what nature's like. Choosing plants specifically for your climate is crucial, and they're in some climates where you've got a lot of water demand. The Mediterranean to the hotter deserts, very dry in summer. Moist climate like this, we don't often use the desert plants, but when you're up against a block wall like this, which is filled with concrete, you have a lot of thermal mass and there's drying of the soil. So I can grow a Mediterranean fig here, I can grow a pomegranate here, I can grow fruiting cactuses here, I can grow an olive, and I can grow a jujube, which is they're all dry land species. They like a dry, hot summer. This wall creates a microclimate, so I can do that right here. But in some climates, these are the crucial plants that you plant as the major plants rather than a specific spot where the soil is drying because of the thermal mass. This will be the main set of plants in the Mediterranean zone. Here's a section of the garden that's planted to cover crop, a green manure crop. Here there's a set of plants that are just grown for the organic matter and improving the soil in position. So I have a bean growing here that's fixing nitrogen, and I have wheat growing here that's creating carbon. The two together literally make a sheet green compost, and this will be the mulch that we'll grow our mixed vegetables in. So that's cover crop in position to the benefit of your food production. Both chickens and ducks can be a fantastic component in a small garden because apart from producing eggs and meat, if you like, they also create a fantastic compost ingredient. They scratch all the organic matter all the time. They take out the weed seeds and they also take out the pest larvae. So they're an insect control, a weed control, and a fertilizing component. And you can cycle them over a garden with controlled moves, so they're making that garden more productive and easier to manage. They're balancing pest and weed cycles in your favor. So a very, very useful element. And you just need a small area in control to lock them up at night. So, fantastic component for small gardens. Bees are a very passive component in a garden. Take up very little space, yet they range for 3 kilometers in all directions, bringing in a fantastic product. As long as you don't position the bees so their flight path is where people are continuously walking, you don't have any problem at all, and you get a continuous harvest. Bodies of water, small and large, are beneficial to ecosystem balance. Even small ponds, there are so many frogs, there are so many dragonflies. There are also beneficial mulch plants that can be grown in ponds that are great for the soil, and food plants. You've got Chinese water chestnut here, and you've got Lebanese cress. There's a lot of different plants that you can grow that are edible. So you've got multi-functions from small bodies of water to large bodies of water. They're very important ways to help balance an ecosystem. Rock walls and rockeries store heat in the thermal mass of the rock and dry the soil, which is favourable to papayas because they like well-drained soil, but also favourable to reptile predators. So a lot of lizards live around rock walls. Now lizards predate on the insects in your garden when it's hot and sunny. The opposite, the frogs, which are attracted by ponds, which predate at night and when it's raining. So you're balancing a system for favouring predators. Integrated pest management comes down to many things. You do have ponds for predator habitat. You favour predators and disfavour the pests. Now, you confuse the pests with colour and flowers. Often they're companions. A lot of your crops have flowers and scents. So we have scented herbs, we have basils, we have different smells, we have different colours, we have different shapes, and we have good predator habitat. So you favour the predators and confuse the pests, you don't get that many problems at all. Edges are always very productive in nature because you have all the elements of, let's say, a forest coming down to open country grassland. You have all the species of both systems blended together, plus you have an edge specialty system matrix. So on the edge of our garden here, we have a food forest strip just above our garden. So there's a lot of edibles in the food forest, fruit trees, pineapples, turmeric, different edible leaf crops, perennials, sweet potato, but it's coming always towards our garden. So we don't have to maintain this top footpath very much because we're actually always got it in control with ground covers. We just have to quickly nip the ground covers off. But our production here is quite different to our production here in our garden. There's an edge between the two. There are a lot of crops that grow on this edge that won't grow inside a forest because there's too much sun, but they are ideal for growing on the edge because you've got the nutrient of the forest strip, so we don't have to fertilize, and you get the full sun of the open garden space. So it's a combination of two elements together, giving you that extra production. Now we can increase edge everywhere around the garden and gain that production for free. We have to realize that permaculture is a system that's always evolving, especially in the first few years. So there's all kinds of adjustments you can make. So some things go really well and we can extend those. Others are just too much work to get a result. Sometimes it's worth making the effort. With our plums here, we find that they just grow too leggy in our subtropical climate. So if we prune them heavy, spread the branches, stretch them out, actually tie them down, we get more and more flowering across the tree, and that way we get more fruit. We also find we don't get so much bird problems if we keep them low. So these small fruit forests, we keep everything low, so we're the predator, and maybe we have domestic predators as well. That keeps a lot of the birds away, so we don't lose as much fruit. It's okay to let everything go all leggy and large, but you'll find that you don't get as much fruit. Our citrus we prune as a ball shape. We don't want those to go out with stretched out branches because they fruit on the outside of the crown. There's little adjustments to make all the time, but if something's going so well, it's just about rampant. If you have to prune because it's so prolific, at least you have lots and lots of organic matter, and that organic matter is what's feeding the soil. Some common mistakes that people make when starting out is they don't line up all the connections that are going to work in the long term to save energy. But also, they're often afraid of crowding out an area and they end up planting a little bit too sparsely. You need to take up all the space that otherwise will be occupied by weeds, and then sacrifice those elements when your main components start to flourish and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So make sure that your area is full. Make sure that you're taking up all the space. And the long-term result is you've got connections from one element to another that are beneficial. then you'll save a lot of time, be more efficient and more productive. With young fruit trees like this ruby red grapefruit, they're not taking up much space. So we can occupy the space with ground covers like sweet potato and pumpkin, and root crops like cocoa yam, herbs like the scented basil here. A mixture of plants are filling the gap. While this starts to mature, it will take the gap. So we're actually allowing this to happen. We will sacrifice the productive plants that are taking up most of the area for the fruit tree as a very long-term productive component. Permaculture systems can be very comfortable for people. In fact, it's really important to design in the people spaces where we can sit, where we can just enjoy the view, enjoy the smells, enjoy the looks. Here I have passion fruit over an arbor and a trellis, which makes it a very comfortable place to be in the shade, in amongst all the beautiful trees and all the beautiful wildlife that comes through the garden. It's a very enjoyable place to be. You feel like you're right in amongst nature, but you're right in amongst all this productive edible food. So it's psychologically very comfortable because you feel like you're in amongst abundance. So everything's provided for you, but you feel comfortable in amongst very pretty surroundings and psychologically very, very secure. There are so many combinations of components. The variation of permaculture systems that you see are endless. So different climate, different landscape, different demands from the people and requirements, but all of them are evolving and we're adjusting to the evolution of the system. And we are developing a relationship over time where we understand the system, we understand the components that are most productive. As they mature, they start to replicate. And as they self-replicate, we choose the elements that have worked best for us. So maturity actually gives us more and more stability over generation and generation of time. So what we have is we have a system that makes us feel totally secure and healthy through the supply line that we provide ourselves from this relationship. So that's what we're after, absolute abundance and a relationship with nature that works.